Excellency, thank you so much for joining CNBC. I want to kick off by asking you about what's your take on how this has all gone. This is the first time that this country has hosted the G20. There was a lot of anticipation about everything going into this, but some good reviews so far.
I think we are very happy. The meetings went very well. The preparation went very well. Actually, it took us 2 years, so we had 2 years to prepare. We have had actually very constructive discussions, building the agenda together in consultation with the G20 members. There has been really tremendous cooperation between the members. The evidence was today and yesterday. I think the discussions were very helpful. The spirit of collaboration is there. The spirit of actually working for a common interest for the globe is there. I was really happy to see the conclusions of the meetings as successful as it was.
When you think about what happens next in the global context of coronavirus, obviously a massive amount of conversation here at the G20 about what that means for the global economy. What's your take?
Obviously, it was discussed. I mean, we discussed it at length yesterday on the global outlook, economic outlook. It is an issue that we need to watch. It is an issue that we need to ensure that we are ready to intervene with the right policy positions and actions as needed. IMF gave us an initial assessment of what they think the impact on China and the world is. And they believe it is going to be short-lived and a V-shape and the economic recovery will happen. But still, we are not going to be complacent. We will need to ensure that we work with the stakeholders, World Health Organization, IMF, and others to follow it up and ensure that we intervene as needed.
So important to stay vigilant.
Absolutely.
When you think about this within the context of governments, there were a lot of questions, especially initially, about whether or not the Chinese government was being completely forthcoming with the international community about just how bad this really was. How do you feel about their communication today? Are they being honest with the public?
I think before commenting on this, I could tell you clearly from what I've heard from the G20 at large, without exception. We felt really sad for the loss of lives that happened in China and elsewhere. We wanted to show support to the Chinese people and others who are impacted. We made it very clear that we stand ready to provide whatever support is needed. I trust the information and reports coming out of China. I think they have handled it very well so far. Saudi Arabia made it very clear that we really praise their efforts to ensure that they, become very transparent on dissemination of information, working with the World Health Organization, but also we offer to provide whatever assistance we can to help in this difficult time.
When you think about what happens next in the region, there are vulnerable areas, whether they be refugee camps or even potentially countries like Iran. How worried are you about the spread of the coronavirus really impacting this region?
Obviously, we need to watch it very carefully, particularly when it comes to developing countries that does not have the necessary resources to deal with this. I think both the World Health Organization and the United Nations made it clear that they stand ready to provide whatever support. At a G20 level, we will intervene as needed with the right action. Personally, I think from a Saudi perspective, we wanted to make sure that this is contained, that awareness is raised.
Well, they've already closed the border between Iran and Iraq and Iran and Turkey. Do you see more of that?
I think we need to watch what is happening. I think sometimes aggressive actions actually can drive negative impact more than the disease itself. So one will need to take measured action as needed. Obviously, we have seen the impact on tourism. We have seen the impact on logistics. But also, we wanted to make sure that we don't overreact, but we are not complacent. We want to watch what is happening in the region around us, and we are taking action in Saudi Arabia as needed to ensure that we don't get it. Thankfully, until today, and hopefully we will never have it, but until today we have registered no cases, and we are taking measures to ensure that it doesn't.
So you mentioned logistics and you mentioned tourism, obviously, it's feeling the impact from coronavirus. But also, of course, oil prices have felt a significant impact. How difficult does that make your job with oil prices sitting just around $50 a barrel?
Obviously, when we spoke after the budget announcement in December, Saudi Arabia have actually decided to change the way we calculate our revenues, particularly the oil revenues. We took a very conservative approach when calculating it. So until now, I'm not really concerned. We are reasonably comfortable with the way we are assessing the oil markets. The oil minister made it very clear that the oil-producing countries and OPEC Plus are going to discuss and under discussion at the moment to see whether they need to intervene, at what level, when. They are watching it, they are studying the impact. But from a Saudi, I could tell you from a Saudi finances, we are until now comfortable that the impact is not going to cause us too much stress.
So do you guys need to make those extra cuts that have been in discussion on the Saudi side?
Well, I think the cuts is a matter for oil market balance. We wanted to make sure that the market is balanced, that there is no oversupply, because oversupply means lower prices. Lower prices means no investment on energy, which then would cause a spike in a couple of years' time that the world does not need. We need a stable energy prices that then help the growth in the global arena.
So the oil prices where they are today are not hurting your bottom line?
That's right.
Walk me through what happens next with regards to non-oil growth. Obviously, those numbers are up. But overall growth for the Saudi economy, the IMF has stated, has a bit lower. Where do you see the country headed over 2020, given the fact that we have coronavirus on the table today?
The governor of Saudi Central Bank announced yesterday that the 2019 numbers are very positive, and he believes that 2020 will continue to grow, particularly the non-oil GDP. What we care about from our perspective, from the economic reform that we went through, is the non-oil GDP. It is the diversification of the economy. It is the new sectors that we are opening. We have seen actually very positive growth on these, and that growth is continuing. I believe throughout 2020 we will see actually very positive growth in tourism, and financial sector, and technology, and entertainment, and others. So the momentum is there. I think we have seen confidence in the private sector back. We have seen private sector growth is actually very positive. We ended up the third quarter that was announced a few weeks back with 4.3% on private sector growth. So that is actually the highest in 5 years, and the momentum is continuing. So I'm quite comfortable with 2020. I think we will even pick up more beyond 2020, but we need to be watchful. We need to make sure that we provide the right environment for investments, and we are doing a lot of structural reform. We ranked #1 in the World Bank ranking on ease of doing business as the most reforming country. We want that drive and that momentum to continue.
Walk me through the sectors there that you see feeling the most impact in terms of the non-oil growth. We're talking about tourism specifically because that, of course, could feel an impact, frankly, from the coronavirus, whether we're talking about religious tourism or the move into more traditional forms of tourism that we've seen in Saudi in the last year.
No, actually, tourism is new in Saudi Arabia. So we are starting from a very low base, and the growth, not only from abroad, but even internal tourism is actually picking up very, very healthy. So that will continue. We are seeing tourism from the region. We are attracting a lot of people from the region. That is going to continue. We are providing a lot better offering these days compared to what we had only a few years back. So that potential is going to continue. Technology, are investing in technology a lot, and we have a very young population, technology savvy, so the potential of growth is also there. We just opened our financial sector to fintech. Central Bank have just licensed the first fintech company only last month, and we are likely to see even more licenses issued either the end of this month or beginning of next month. So the growth is there, the potential is there, and then we have sectors, classic sectors that we are now stimulating, even the industrial sector, where we are providing a lot of stimulation that will also grow. Mining sector is an area where I believe we'll see significant growth, not necessarily in early 2020, but in the midterm. So the potential is there. That said, I think we need to watch what is happening in the global economy at large. We are impacted, we are part of the globe. So if coronavirus develops more negatively, then we need to reassess what we need to do to ensure that we protect our economy.
The region, of course, quite vulnerable to external shocks. I had the chance to catch up with the Jordanian minister yesterday, asking him about the IMF package for that country. Of course, we were sitting together not too long ago, just over a year, I think, in London, talking about the future of Jordan and the importance of international aid to that country. Right now, they are working with the IMF, as you know. Saudi Arabia is committed as well. Has that money been sent to Jordan at this point? Have you guys already supported them financially within the context of that London conference?
We did and continue to. We have annual transfers that we committed for 5 years, so that is continuing. We have deposits with their central bank that we have extended, and we committed to work with the IMF and Jordan. Jordan is very important. Jordan is a very strong ally of Saudi Arabia, and we wanted to make sure that we help Jordan, we help the Jordanian reach their potential. I think Jordan has a great potential in terms of developing their country. They have young talents, very well educated, and we wanted to see them actually bring about the right reforms to reach their potential.
The IMF, of course, also talking to Lebanon. Were that country to get an IMF bailout package underway, would Saudi Arabia commit to helping Lebanon as well?
Saudi Arabia have been a very strong supporter of Lebanon for decades. It's not new, but we are watching what is happening at the moment. We are talking to the IMF and we are talking to others. We wanted to see a reform plan that is viable and doable, and then we will take action based on it.
Are you encouraged by what you've seen so far, at least, from the Lebanese government?
I haven't seen actually. I've been busy in the last few days actually on the G20, so I haven't really looked at if they have announced anything in the last few days, but I would like to see a very clear reform plan that is doable, that is viable, that is accepted by the IMF and the community of the supporting countries, and we will obviously assess it and stand ready if there is a need.
When you think about this more broadly, can this region afford a failed state in Lebanon?
I think Saudi Arabia, let me tell you, Saudi Arabia as the president of the G20 and as an important country, the largest economy in the region, working with our partners to ensure that we bring dialogue, we bring discussion, we deal with tensions through dialogue, as we have done in the G20. I mean, we have worked with the partners and other stakeholders to bring about an agenda that deals with not only today, but the 21st century. If you have seen the overarching theme of Saudi Arabia, it's actually capturing the opportunities of the 21st century. We wanted to ensure that people of this region who deserve a lot of hope, a lot of prosperity, receive that through working together with the countries in the region, through dealing with disputes via dialogue rather than arms, and we are working with our partners to achieve that. I think it is in our interest to ensure that we don't have failed state in this region. Unfortunately, we have some around, and
we don't need another one, is what you're saying.
We are working with them to ensure that that number does not increase, but actually those who are in trouble are actually helped, and their people are helped to reach their potential.
Does the maximum pressure campaign make that harder?
I don't think so. I think we need to ensure that countries who are causing disruption in the region know that there is consequences for that, and we are, as our partners are ready to engage when they are ready to engage.
The last time we spoke in Davos, which was in 2019, I asked you about this specifically, and we were talking about Eurobonds, and you said you're behind Lebanon all the way. Is that still the case today?
We are behind the Lebanese people all the way, I could tell you, and will continue. I mean, we host thousands and tens of thousands of Lebanese in Saudi Arabia, and will continue. We want, as I said earlier, we want to see what is the agenda, what is the reform agenda that the government is putting forward. Is it viable? And then we will work with our partners to assess it.
You look at this obviously from a global perspective as the head of the G20 this year. When you think about the region specifically, what are the trouble spots to you from an economic perspective? I mean, you're a finance minister, you understand the ins and outs of budgets, of numbers adding up. Where do you see the most problems in the coming year?
Under the G20, one of the key aims is empowering people. And empowering people means you look at the potential that the people of the region, but at large, the globe, have, and where is the untapped resources that you need to unlock. Women, youth, for this region is very important, and we have very specific priorities and specific initiatives under the G20 presidency to actually deal with that, to enable these countries, to support them, to help them actually reskill their people, to help them provide opportunities for women in the workplace, for youth in the workplace, for SMEs who actually employ a lot of people and provide the engine for the economy in this region to actually reach their potential. We wanted to make sure that they receive the right credit, they receive the right support by and within the region, but also from the global partners.
So no specific countries that you would say stand out as worrisome within that context?
I think there are countries that are actually making strides on reform. I could name few. I think Egypt made significant reform and reaping the benefits of that. When you have the right leadership, the right policies, I think you can bring hope to your people. Saudi Arabia have started a few years back, and we are actually now realizing a lot of these benefits and opportunities. We are seeing very good growth on the non-oil GDP. We are seeing actually people more enthusiastic. People are more serious about work and being productive. Couple of other countries, Bahrain, we have seen a lot of reform and it is successful. So when there is a will, there is always a way to ensure that you get the support of your friends and partners, not only from the region but around the world, because what happens in the region impacts the whole world, and that is very well known, and this is why we have a lot of interest from our friends in Europe and other places to ensure that we bring stability, we bring dialogue into the region.
Excellency, thank you for joining CNBC.
Thank you very much.